lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just come. Just come. Just come. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just come. Just come. Just come. Just come.
This is Sparta. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. Last week, Richard Ricmotech in the number 92 Spaceballs, the Camaro Chevrolet, was a dominant force at Bristol Dirt as he had led Garrett Heath there on the last lap to victory lane. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sim Racing Media. I'm Dave Regal, alongside my partner in crime, Mr. Tony Trapasso, and we have now gone from the dirt to Kentucky here on the asphalt. And you know what? At this point of the night, Tony, I'm thinking we're going to see someone distill themselves a win here in Bourbon Country. Without a doubt. I mean, you know, the drivers have been out all night long practicing for the last several minutes as we are getting ready to wrap that up. Scotty Ramler out here in the number 57 MSS Ford Mustang. Sorry about that. My goodness. Sitting right now atop the practice timing line, but just behind him by 2/100th of a second is our race winner from last week, Rich Ricmotech. And don't look now, but Dennis Weeks just hopped in there and squeezed himself right in with a 30.79. So Ricmotech and Weeks running side by side now as far as timing goes. Right, and you can see that right here in our race info in the middle of your screen, folks. We're settling in here at a 1.46 mile tri-oval here in Sparta, Kentucky. We're going to be going 167 miles for a total of about 250 miles. And right now, with the sun down, temperature 81 degrees ambient and track temperature just about the same at 82 degrees. So, Tony, that's going to help this track grip up quite a bit and allow for some really exciting racing as we get around here.
An hour, which coming out of the south or southwest, that's going to be a crosswind on the exit of 2 and the exit of 4. And I dare say 4 is probably going to wreak a little more havoc than turn 2 is, because you do have a little bit of coverage from the hill on the outside of 2. But coming off of 4, it's nothing but the infield to kind of break up that wind. And from what we've seen so far tonight, turn 4 is where we're going to want to be focusing on for the not so kind moments.
Oh, absolutely. That transition out of 4, and I'm going to see if I can't pull somebody up who's about to come through there. Oh, let's see. Bryce Senesac looks like he's nearby. That's, matter of fact, right behind Bryce Senesac. Not exactly sure who that is. Going to try to find
Bing bong.
Did exactly as you, almost like he was told. But right now, Senesac here in the 09 Chevrolet Camaro, your points leader. We'll take a look right here at the points. There we go. Senesac does lead the points here tonight. And, here's the thing, Tony. Week after week, we see these drivers basically going at it hammer and tongs. I mean, the fixed setup definitely, benefiting many of these drivers as they get around this piece. Senesac with 255 points, but GT Hawkins, driver the number 14 machine, he's only 35 points behind, and David Elliott is even closer to Hawkins with just 7 points separating him. And it turns into an absolute nightmare as we get through Clifton Cockrell and Mike Rominger, Alan Hilton, Michael Thwaites, and John Sterling here in the top 10, as they're separated by almost a grand total of maybe a complete 14 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's from 5th down to 10th. You got a little bit of separation for the final 2 spots that are on the inside looking out. Jeff Taylor and Alonzo King, currently the last 2 cars that would qualify for the playoffs if we were to end the regular season right this second. But, Dave, we got more important things going on right now as drivers are out on track for qualifying.
And that they are, Tony, right now trying to get that overlay off of the screen. I guess it decided that it didn't want to cooperate this evening. That happens. There we go.
Been there, done that.
It seems like we've been there and done that almost every week in at least one race, as sometimes our software doesn't always match up with what we want it to do. But taking a look here at Mark Hanna out on track in the number 45 Toyota Camry. Sorry, last night was Xfinity. Here in that Napa Auto Parts Camry coming down the back stretch.
Oy.
Wow.
That was sketch coming off of 2 there.
It certainly was, and I got to be honest, it doesn't look like he arced the corner real well coming into 3. So let's see if he can get himself reset here for lap number 2, as even after that little hiccup there, we're going to see him hop up now to P2 with a 31.14 second lap just behind James Byrne.
Yeah, Burns kind of laid one down there, putting the gauntlet to everybody. Rocking the Under Armour number 77. It's Scotty Rambler jumps up to the top of the heap with a 31.05. Wow.
And taking a look at John Sterling right now in the number 3 GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang. And, Tony, every week we talk about...
I cringe every time I hear that.
Yeah, we have some really great paint schemes, and then there's this one that just makes my skin crawl a little bit.
I mean, I can understand why he did it, because with the way that paint scheme's laid out, it does kind of look like the old Luminas from the early 90s. But I believe it was GT Hawkins. GT Hawkins just jumped up to the top of the heap.
He jumped up to the top of the heap and got out of that car like it was on fire.
55 by Adam Capps, looking to improve on his time. Currently sitting 14th quick. Let's see what the second lap is going to do for Capps. Well, he's green in both sectors so far. And Capps moves up to 7th as Romuler is out on track on his first flyer right now, Dave.
Taking a look here at Romuler. Last week's winner at Bristol Dirt. Here in Spaceballs, the Camaro. Tony, we talked about this car a whole bunch last week, and sometimes it just seems like I can't get enough of those little cult movies from the 80s and the late 70s, like Spaceballs. I mean, and he really did a great job with this paint scheme.
He did it that, and hats off to him for getting all of the key pieces from that movie onto the car. I actually binge watched last night trying to get to sleep. I actually binge watched History of the World Part 1, which if you'll notice in that movie, they end with what they call Jews in Space.
Yes.
What was Spaceballs?
Well, it was kind of the same thing. It was definitely not Hitler on ice.
No, it was not. But still waiting on Mel Brooks to give us that little gem. I also watched Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. But
Blazing Saddles does not get made today. We discussed that last week.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. DJ Weeks out on track right now, looking to crank one off. Goes purple in the first sector. Let's see what happens to Weeks. Jumps up to second quick. Not too shabby of a second lap for him, as we're only waiting for Garrett Heath in the 88 to lay a time. So, Dave, it's time to have some fun at Kentucky. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And welcome back to Kentucky Speedway. You are watching the Ricmotech Cup Series, brought to you, of course, in part by extremescoring.info. And, so many of us, Tony, in the iRacing servers are very used to a certain website where you can have all of your scoring tabulated and managed for you. But I'll tell you what, I started perusing some of the software from extremescoring.info. CC, I'm very intrigued, as Poppy would say there on the Dan Le Batard show with Stugatz. I mean, just a really great user interface. Everything seems easy to find. You don't have to do all kinds of, amateur coding. It's click, click, done, click, click, done. So if you're somebody that, you manage a league, you run a league, or you're an admin, and you don't have as much time as you wish you did, make sure that you head over to extremescoring.info and take a look at their beautiful software.
Well, I personally like the way they've got their webpage laid out, too, as that is xmsracing.com if you'd like to try to get involved with this league. They give you the standings, like the raw data for the standings, and then they also break it up into who's made the playoffs so far. And if you'll pull up the points one more time for us, Dave, Jeremy Clifton, if you'll notice, he's the only one in the top 10 right now, under 200 points. He has a race win. That's why. He's currently sitting fourth because he has a race win. Nobody behind him does. So they're actually laying this out by the projected points that those drivers should get going into the playoffs.
Yeah, one of the things that we've noticed here, of course, this is a fixed setup league, so the competition a lot closer than some of the other experiences that we have on iRacing.com. As, it seems like fixed setups keep it close on the track and close in the points. There's not somebody running away with 10 wins as I have in one of the other leagues that I call for, or, we've even got some at this point in the season with, 11, 12, and 13 wins. So, one of the things that I had noted earlier in the races, here we are in week number 7, and we have already had 6 different winners, and it's entirely possible to have a 7th different winner tonight here at Kentucky.
with the talent pool that's in this field tonight, Dave, I would be greatly surprised if we didn't see a seventh first-time winner this season. But you look at the top of this timing and scoring pylon, which we're getting ready to call qualifying to an end here. We only got about 2.5 minutes left. There's a good possibility we could see our first repeat winner this season.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. That would be very exciting to me. And, being as though that here we are in Kentucky, I can almost guarantee you that it wouldn't be that bad of a deal to drive the 47 minutes from Sparta to down there at the Jim Beam plant. Oh, my. I haven't even gotten in the bottle yet. But the Jim Beam plant, just outside of Frankfurt.
It is. As a matter of fact, I believe they call it Bourbon Row, where in like a 10-mile stretch, there's like 5 different bourbon distilleries.
I feel like that would be a problem. I don't have a problem, but I feel like I could develop one fast.
Well, let me point this out to you, Dave. I know we're in Kentucky, but the home of Jack Daniels in Lynchburg, Tennessee?
Yes.
Do you know what the problem with having that plant there is?
Yeah, it's a dry county.
It's a dry county, which means that in order for them to taste a barrel, they have to transport the barrel out of the county, or transport the sample anyways, out of the county, taste it, and then go back.
I mean, that's does that count as drinking on the job or drinking while driving? Because I got to tell you, I would still probably need a designated driver at the end of the workday.
Well, you don't drink a full ounce at a rip.
Oh. Because I would. I want to get that full flavor. I want to get that full, smoky, single-barreled flavor that can only be distilled here in the state of Kentucky.
All right, so I want you to say it with me, Dave.
Uh-huh.
Hi, my name is Dave.
Hi, my name is Dave.
And I'm a drunkard.
And I'm a drunkard. Wait a second.
You're not an alcoholic, because AA is for quitters.
That's true. That is very true. Stick with Uncle Tony and Uncle Dave for more life lessons and strategies for winning.
Oh, good grief.
Oh, gosh. We haven't even gone green yet, Tony, and things are already starting to wind up for us. Speaking of going green, though, looks like our starting grid is figured out now. We're going to take a look at that. As we're waiting for everybody to get in line, waiting for, at this point, GT Hawkins and DJ Weeks to get in their cars. There's GT Hawkins. Let's go on down here. Okay, iRacing cameras. There we are. GT Hawkins, your pole sitter here, laying down the fastest lap in qualifying. He is followed by Mr. DJ Weeks in the number 97 Chevrolet Camaro. Scotty Ramler on the inside of row number 2 with Jeremy Clifton, his row number 2 partner, on the outside in the number 1 Chevrolet. Row number 3 is going to be made up of Alan Hilton in the number 8 with Mike Rominger on the outside of row number 3. Row number 4 made up of Brandon Shirley and Greg Carr in the number 25 Chevrolet. Row number 5, rounding out the top 10, is John Sterling in that number 3 GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang, and Clifton Cockrell in the number 10 Chevrolet Camaro, Tony.
Last week's winner, Richard Romuler, going to roll it off inside row number 6. He's going to be joined with David Clayman. Wes Grant and Alonzo King are going to make up row number 7. Row 8 sees Adam Capps and David Elliott. Alex Carr and our boss man, Jonathan Leach, going to roll it off in row number 9. Row 10 sees Brian Wasserman and James Byrne. Mark Hurricane Hanna driving the Honey Wagon number 45 is going to roll it off inside row number 11. He's going to be joined with Bryce Senesac. Jason Johnson and Ryan Kling rolling off in row number 12. Kling, the last one to lay a time in qualifying and starting shotgun on the field all by his lonesome in the 88 is going to be Garrett Heath. 25 cars scheduled to roll it here tonight, 75% fuel fill. 5 total sets of tires to get them through the event, Dave, as we're getting ready to go 167 laps here at the D-shaped demon of the Bluegrass State.
Without a doubt, Tony, and just as we're getting ready to roll off a pit road here, we already see that the iRacing.com pace cars lights are out, which means that we'll be getting ready to go green rather quickly here as looks like everybody trying to form up. One of the things that I've always been very impressed with is, they do not waste any time here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series. As, we're going to see, even though we're middle of the backstretch, there are some leagues that we see on iRacing that you and I both know very, very well, that this would need an extra lap to get everybody together. But 25 drivers all getting in line, and not one single toe is out of line, as we are still waiting for Bryce Senesac and James Byrne to get here. But right now, Tony, looks like they're coming into turn 3.
Pace car brings them into the turn 3-4 complex. The only thing it's left to say is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab some bourbon and settle in, because it's time to get it on in Kentucky. Race fans, it's show time.
And we are under green here, as it looks like it took a second for GT Hawkins to get there to the loud pedal. But so far, so good on this start. Looks like GT Hawkins and Scotty Ramler are now taking control of this field, as GT Hawkins just goes out and lights a fire and is able to basically take control of this race so early. He leaves Scott Ramler on the inside, trying to get up there so he can start laying down some normal timed laps. Just about 3 wide, as it looks like Jonathan Leach back here hung out to dry on the outside, trying to get himself into line.
Already lost 4 spots there, as Ramler and Weeks still going side by side for second. That's Ramler on the low side, Weeks on the top shelf. Alan Hilton right behind him, as he's got to deal with the one of Jeremy Clifton. And starting to get a little single filed out now, as looks like Reimuller is already +3 and make that +4. Currently sitting back in 7th, as he's working the inside of Mike Rominger.
One of the things that I can't help but notice, Tony, is, basically the fact that a lot of these drivers, the 92 working the low side here of the 29 of Mike Rominger, they are still side by side, just about only maybe 2 of maybe 3 other pairs still double file, as it looks like Rominger not willing to be put to bed early and get in line. He looks like he wants to set his own cadence here as we come out of turn 4 here on lap number 4 at Kentucky. And, something that I happen to notice here is in these next-gen cars, we have so many drivers that wind up going single file, and they start trying to pick off one another one at a time. Last night, I was calling the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, and they were side by side for more than 40 laps without one single person flinching. And you and I did an Xfinity Series on
3
Sunday
wide
night.
for 13th.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Dave. They were 3 wide there for a second for 13th, with Cap's car and Grant going after each other. But, you were saying the Xfinity Series we did Sunday.
Then Sunday, you and I had the same experience where, those Xfinity cars were side by side for more than 12.5 laps, as we had made it around Daytona with next to no issues. I mean,
they were 3 wide for most of that, too.
Listen, I'll tell you what,
At
that
Daytona.
looked like a lot of work. As we see the 19 working the highs. 19 gets, hold on to it, Bryce. Wow. That is a skilled driver right there, if I've ever seen one, Tony.
My vote for save of the night so far.
My goodness.
And it's probably a code brown for that Primetime Motorsports 09.
I also have to say that he's probably seeing red right about now. I mean,
Yeah.
It looked like, you know what, let's take a run back there and take a look at that, because I'll be honest with you, Tony, that deems a second look. I mean, the 19 car, basically, and once we get here, let's get to the chopper. The 19 car we're going to see on the high side, it's almost like he gets latched onto the 09 of Senesac, and they just can't get away from one another, as Senesac manages to hold this. I'll tell you what, that is artistry in racing. He's a Rembrandt tonight.
Sure, go with that thought.
Okay, I will.
As John Sterling and Rich Reimuller are going after each other for 7th right now. That's the 3 of Sterling on the low side. Reimuller trying to hang on the top shelf. He's got to be careful, because Brandon Shirley would love to get back up there as well.
Sterling secures 7th position, but at this point in the race, I think we're just going to see Reimmuller start to roll out here, and basically hold his ground. There's no reason to get too aggressive on lap 8 of 167, but we're running 31-second laps right now as looks like GT Hawkins just set the pace here at 31 seconds even.
And immediately gets bumped off the fast lap by Jeremy Clifton, who went 30.92 already. Mike Rominger went 30.81. Good grief. Leave some on the table for the rest of the kids, will you, boys?
My goodness. Taking a look up here at Jeremy Clifton, he's in a pretty good position right now, as basically started where he is right now, not really trying to battle anybody. And we're basically single file through this top 6. And now it looks like the 92 trying to hold off the 85. My goodness.
When was the 80 making a move on the 25 of cars? Alonzo King currently sitting +4. A whole bunch of drivers sitting +4 right now. King being one of them. David Elliott, Alex Carr, all +4, as is Bryce Senesac. Ryan Kling, your biggest mover so far, +7. And then you got Brian Wasserman in the 17, currently sitting +5.
Greg
oh, no.
Carr, oh, dear.
James
that
Byrne.
Can't be good. Stand by, folks. Let's see what happened. Oh, my. And we see the 77 of James Byrne just getting himself. Oh, it's like the camera knows exactly when I want to watch what it's doing.
Oh.
Oh, dear.
85 just ate wall as well.
My gosh. Well, that is enough to bring out the caution here.
No, I'm sorry, that was the 45 of Mark Hanna. Got yeeted into the wall.
Speaking of getting yeeted, I was criticized last night on the Independence Racing Network doing Monday Night NASCAR's Xfinity Series for using the term yeeted. Is that, am I using it out of school when someone gets yeeted?
I don't know. I was told that one of the leagues that you and I were broadcasting this past weekend preferred that term being used. So
strange.
Yes,
Very
we
strange.
are.
Yeah. Well, I've been told that. Somehow people keep inviting us back for more. We wouldn't be invited back to a buffet, but somehow we are always invited back to certain race series.
True. Although I try to avoid buffets.
I don't avoid them. I avoid missing them, is what happens, you see.
Well, it was your neck of the woods that spoiled me on buffets.
Oh, my goodness. The Shady Maple Smorgasbord over in Terry Hill?
Yes,
my
sir.
God.
That was the night I ate 7 steaks.
Why not? You want the meat sweats, I'm not opposed to the meat sweats whatsoever.
Luckily, I had the next 72 hours off of work.
That's a lot.
Or no, 34 hours off. But we were sitting there with a group of us that were driving tractor trailers at the time, and we all decided to pile in a car and go to Shady Maple, and there was like 8 of us, and we're all sitting there, and me and one of the other guys were, you want another? Let's go. You want another? Let's go. You want another? Let's go. And it took everybody else there a couple of seconds to realize what the heck we were doing, until one of the female drivers says to me, how many steaks is that for you? I said, this is 5. How many are you going to eat? $35 worth.
Look, if you're paying for it, you might as well eat it. That's all.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, listen, my grandmother was a Depression-era child, and if she would have paid $35 anywhere to eat in the first place, it would have been a miracle. But second of all, if she was paying $35, I was eating until I couldn't feel feelings anymore.
Pretty much, yeah. And, of course, that was also the same day that I got addicted to whoopie pies.
I do love a good whoopie pie.
Yeah, I traded alcoholism for whoopie pie addiction.
Well, Tony, it looks like everybody from 4th all the way down through 23rd came down pit road. And just about everybody fuel only. A couple of drivers taking what appears to be 4 tires, but several drivers fuel only here. However, Dennis Weeks, David Elliott, and Bryce Senesac did not opt to come down pit road, so they will have 12 lap of older tires when we go back green. And, with an 82-degree track temperature, Tony, I'm starting to wonder what those cold tires are going to be like once that green flag waves.
Well, we're about to find out. I mean, it's not the most adverse conditions we've ever seen here at Kentucky, but it's still a little bit warm. What does have me concerned, though, Dave, is the fact that it's in the real world right this second, it's raining in Kentucky. 78% relative humidity. So these engines have a lot of water grain in the air, which means fuel economy is not going to be where they normally would like it to be. The space car is in. DJ Weeks on the low side has the button, pulls the trigger, and we are back underway as he dives it out of the Geico restart zone. That's going to let Bryce Senesac get to the inside of David Weeks coming in, or David Elliott, coming into the corner. Mike Rominger, one of the ones that won the battle off pit road after only taking fuel. Brandon Shirley up there with him on the top side. First set of fresh tires belongs to that 57. As they are 3 wide, and we've got one around.
And the 29 is around. Oh, and he's starting to collect more as it gets even worse back.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh. 8 car just turned it. Oh, my God. Does Rominger get around? He does not. He's trying to get himself down onto the racing surface. The 19 of Wes Grant just barely snuck his way through. I'll tell you what, this is definitely worthy of a few extra moments of replay preparation. My God.
It started with the 80 going to the inside of Rominger going into 3. And then Rominger gets the grass, just slides up the track. Your pole sitter, GT Hawkins, catching a piece of that one. Oy. Oh, my goodness.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. And just as our sage Tony Trapasso had pointed out, we're going to back up just a little bit further here. We're going to see the 80 get to the inside of the 29, as Tony said, and take us through this, Tony, as wow, the 29 becomes the meat in the sandwich.
He does, and I don't know exactly where to put the blame on that one. I mean, he was inside for long enough that the spotter should have let the 29 know he was there, but the 80 still had the option to back out of it, and didn't. Got into the left rear quarter panel of the 29, shot him up the track. GT Hawkins gets put into the fence, and now he has since put it on the hauler. David Clayman caught a piece of that one. Adam Capps, James Byrne, believe that's the 8 that got Alan Hilton got used like a pinball. So a whole bunch of damaged cars, and we're only on lap 15 of 167 tonight, Dave.
Yeah, that's definitely going to clear out a lot of the field. Taking a look right now at the 25, who manages to squirt through there as he was right in the middle of all of that mayhem. Tony, he's got to be thanking his lucky stars right about now.
Yeah, I would go buy a lottery ticket as soon as this race is over.
It's almost like the sea just parted and made everything right. And from what I understand, I believe they're calling that on netcode.
I just heard that as well. Really? Well, let me see what the eye in the sky picked up on this one. Oh, wow, yeah. That was bad netcode. Dave, you and I could have gone side by side with me in my wheelchair and you walking between those two cars when everything started to pop off.
Between the 80 and who now?
Between the 80 and the 29, you and I both could have fit there side by side between those two cars.
Well, let's take a look once more here. The 80 and the 29, you say? more than likely they're I'm not sure if they're on the East Coast, but I know that we're supposed to be having some kind of storms going on right now here on the East Coast. It might be raining, and I just can't see it through the door here of the broadcast studio. But we do see here the 80 and the 29. We see the 29 in the middle. Oh, wow.
See what I'm saying?
Yep, I do. Tony, why don't you explain for the fans, I feel like, we always have to cover this, exactly what netcode is. I mean, I was talking about it last night on the broadcast alongside my boy Josh Ward. So why don't you explain it here tonight for our fans in the Extreme Scoring and Ricmotech Cup Series?
Well, the simplified version of it, the way that this racing series works, there are servers around the world. This particular server is based out of Boston, Massachusetts. And there's information going back and forth between your computer and the server. Everybody's computer is sending their info into that server. And all it takes is one little hiccup for that data to be off by a couple of feet. And most of the time when we see netcode, it was inevitable it was going to happen anyways. But like we just saw there, what we did see on Sunday afternoon for the Xfinity race, you and I both did, we saw some of the worst netcode Sunday as we've ever seen. There wasn't even a car around, and all of a sudden the car just into the wall. But what it does is it's because all that data is being sent back and forth in milliseconds. If the information gets corrupted by like one number, one decimal point, that tells the server that, yeah, this car's not in the position that the drivers are seeing it, they're going to touch. And it's kind of unavoidable. The good thing is we don't get the frag lag that some of the first-person shooter games out there suffer from. But netcode is basically server lag. As the pace car does peel on off, as DJ Weeks has the button one more time, bringing him into the Geico restart zone. That's not it. Here comes the Geico restart zone. Weeks wastes no time pulling the trigger, and we are back underway.
Bryce Senesac, your points leader, riding the outside here over top of David Elliott, as they are now in hot pursuit of DJ Weeks. And, I got to be honest with you, Tony, as I'm watching them, I'm not sure that Senesac isn't just trying to basically hold on, for fuel consumption.
I dare say that's what's going on.
As we've seen so much over the last week at super speedways, where, of course, at a super speedway, you could be hanging, in that third position, saving fuel like crazy while you're basically waiting for the leader to cook all of his fuel out and then use him like a pick.
Well, we saw it last night in the CleanRacing.net Truck Series. Perfect pit strategy by last night's winner, Chris Worrell. He ran out doing his burnout.
Well, I guess he had it figured out to the very end.
Exactly. If that's not getting the most out of your tank, I don't know what is. But taking a look right now, as Scott Rambler has worked his way back into third after taking tires. Here comes Jeremy Clifton in the one, working the inside of Senesac. And, I mean, yeah, it was only 12-lap newer tires, but you're still talking half a second fall off between the haves and have-nots right now.
Well, and at this point, the goal is going to be to just get some good, clean laps in, even as the 57 working along underneath the 42 to secure P2, as he is now going to set sail for DJ Weeks in the 97. And it looks like the 57, as long as he keeps hitting those marks, is going to be just A-OK here. And as we look, give me 1 second here to pull this bad boy up. As we're going to look here from DJ Weeks, we're going to... Oh, you know what? I can't do that from here. I lie. I take it back. I couldn't spin the camera. We're going to see him basically hitting the same mark every time for the next several laps. And at this point, all Scotty Rambler's doing is waiting for him to make a mistake. And here he goes.
Well, Weeks opened up the bottom side coming through the tri-oval, and it looks like Jeremy Clifton's going to follow Rambler through, or at least try to. But hats off to GJ Weeks for, having 24-lap old tires, 12-lap older tires than the two guys that he's working around right now, and he's still hanging in there on the top shelf.
Listen, I'll tip my cap to him right now. That takes a lot of skill, especially when you're not at a super speedway or at a place where tires aren't near as much of a factor. I mean,
so it'd be Daytona and Talladega,
basically, and even New Atlanta does not have the same tire wear that it used to. Of course, it used to be like a cheese grater, and now it's like slipping right across glass. But we don't see tire wear as much at those places, and you got to keep in mind these guys probably just spent a week, whether in the public servers or other leagues, running at Daytona. So this is like trying to relearn how to be, an intermediate track driver.
And going back to the whole different tracks favoring different drivers. You think of Daytona and Talladega, what last name comes to mind?
Well, Earnhardt here, and, I guess we might as well take another look at it here as John Sterling has that Earnhardt paint scheme. And actually, if you think about this right here, the 3 and the 77 kind of has that old Wrangler paint scheme with the blue and gold. And, of course, the black number 3 that everybody is familiar with just in front of him, driven by John Sterling.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at the 77 on the doors, an actual picture or a composite of Dale Sr., standing there with his arms in the air. I believe that was when he won Daytona. And, Sterling, like I said, I can understand 3 wide. That's never a good sign.
Wow.
Sterling threw it to the inside as Weeks goes to the outside. They both worked their way around. Bryce Senesac is the 77 of Byrne going to follow Sterling through. But if you look at that car from the front, that looks like the 1990 Lumina that Senior drove at Daytona.
It absolutely does. And, I think that's one of the neatest things about iRacing, that no matter where you are, what you're doing, what league you're in, you can always find a paint scheme that's just exciting. That can maybe spark a memory, like that win in February of 1998 when Dale Sr. won the Daytona 500. Or, I believe it was 1979 when he stuck himself out the window at Richmond to clean it.
That was 82.
82. But, I mean, I think about every time I see those paint schemes, those are immediately the 2 clips that pop into my head. Just like every time I see a Tide car, I think about the Icky Shuffle and DW in Victory Lane.
Absolutely. A matter of fact, I had an RC version of that car when I first got into carpet oval racing.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. I had the Monte Carlo. It was painted like DW17 when he was still running for Hendrick.
Well, I mean, that does kind of show your age. Let's not do that for the fans.
I freely admit I'm the old fart of the station.
I mean, you definitely are. Listen, speaking of old farts...
You can smell my cat, too?
No. I mean, I can try. I did have Taco Bell for dinner.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And I'm sitting, of course, as you know, in a tiny broadcast studio.
Yeah, I thought you were going to cut a hole in the wall and put a fan in there to get some sort of air circulation.
I haven't really done that. All I really do is open the door and burp the room. It gets the fart smell out when it happens. Sure. It gets a little scary, a little sketchy. Speaking of a little sketchy...
battle going just outside of the top 10. You want to talk about sketchy. Oy. Wes Grant, Alex Carr, Ryan Kling, Greg Carr, and Brandon Shirley. No quarter asked for, no quarter given between those guys right now. And look who's the caboose in that little freight train. That would be our boss man, one Mr. Jonathan Leach in 18th.
Jonathan Leach, almost, in this black and white paint scheme, he almost reminds me of one of those Gateway computer boxes from back in the 90s.
Wait.
No? Too soon?
Oh, yeah, okay. When they were painted like a dairy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of looks like that. I'm not calling him a cow.
Battle for the lead starting to heat up here as Rambler and Sterling Rambler and Clifton are under heavy pressure from Sterling right now as the 80
Rambler
of
gets down
King.
on that yellow line.
Oy. King was all sorts of sideways. That's going to let Clifton get to the front. These guys are just picking them up and laying them down right now. We've got a 4-car breakaway at the front of this piece. Clifton, Rambler, Sterling, and King. And then you're almost 3/4 of a second back to the 77 of James Byrne. And then it is an angry pack of wolves behind him.
Taking a look at our YouTube.com live chat here. Glad to have everybody with us. Monica Clayman, of course, as always with us. Yes, we did get the audio problem figured out. That was my mistake here in the broadcast studio. And she, of course, is cheering on for her son, David Clayman, and Alonzo and Mark Hanna. Then, of course, Brandon Rickard also cheering on Mark. All 240 pounds of him, so apparently he's chassis kind of like us. Then Donna Kay is down here saying good luck to GT Motorsports.
And
as
GT's
well as,
already poured it on the hauler, though. That's the bad news.
Which is kind of sad. You know, of course, that's now way delayed. Then apparently we've made Monica hungry. I guess our discussion about the Shady Maple Smorgasbord may or may not have sparked an interest. Monica, listen, you're more than welcome for you and David to come over here to Pennsylvania, check it out. And listen, if I have to, I'll go there. I mean, twist my arm, why don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, we haven't touched on it yet, but, I mean, you guys have Shady Maple down there. Up here, we've got Nick Tahoe's and the garbage plates.
I'm telling you, when I come to Syracuse, especially to see your Sparkle, what are they, Sparkle what nows?
Sparkle Muffins.
There we
go. Brand new professional lacrosse team in Syracuse called the Sparkle Muffin. And no, folks, it's not what you think it is. Google that word. All one word, Sparkle Muffin. Make sure you're sitting down and make sure you've got the mouse pointer ready to click off and if you're arachnophobic.
Speaking of sitting down, right now it looks like Bryce Senesac is telling David Elliott to sit down as he works his way around the 42 Chevrolet. Now Senesac setting his eyes back on James Byrne in the 77. Byrne, one of the drivers that came down on lap 16, still chasing down Dennis Weeks, who's holding his own, has not come down yet for pit service as we are 30 laps of 167 in here at Kentucky Speedway. And Tony, what do you say right now, since we are under green, that we step aside and pay a couple of bills?
Sounds good.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor,
for you.
Ricmotech has you covered. Ricmotech, hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Just looking to have trusted by the pros. Train for race day. There's only one place to go. Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go. Ricmotech.com.
You eat. I'm bringing. Welcome back to Sparta, Kentucky, as we are 43 of 167 laps complete. Your race leader is John Sterling. I'm Dave Regal alongside my partner, Mr. Tony Trapasso. And right now, we're watching John Sterling in. Now, get this, folks. He's driving a black number 3 with GM Goodwrench all over this car. But it's a Ford Mustang. And we've discussed it already that the body shape of the new Ford Mustang here in the next-gen cars just so happens to kind of look like that old Lumina from the 90s. So
Well, the front does.
the front end does. And the front end was so iconic, especially with the grill up as high as it used to be. But John Sterling, Scotty Ramler, Jeremy Clifton, Alan Hilton, and Alonzo King Jr. make up your top 5. And Alonzo King Jr. right now in the heat of battle as he is in the middle of the 97, driven by DJ Weeks in 6th position. And just ahead of him, he has Alan Hilton in his crosshairs driving the number 8 Maestro Chevrolet Camaro.
He is at that, but you take a look at that 09 at Bryce Senesac right now. That is your biggest mover, sitting plus 15 here tonight. Biggest mover in the positive direction. Unfortunately, pole sitter GZ Hawkins was taken out on lap 15.
And so far, let's see if I can pull up what iRacing thinks is exciting. It turns out we're already watching it. There it goes. Holy Christmas. There it goes. James Byrne in the 77 chasing down Wes Gant in the 19 Valvoline Chevrolet. And right now, James Byrne kind of in a good place. He's got 0.3 of a second to Wes Gant. He's got 0.3 of a second back to Adam Capps in the double 5 machine. And right now, that elite Toyota Camry is chasing him down, but not really making up any ground. So it kind of leaves James Byrne in a safe space, if you will.
Yeah, and that's really all you can hope to do on these intermediate tracks is, find a place to hide, stay there, don't make a lot of waves, just try to stay out of trouble for at least the first 75% of this race, 75 to 80% anyways. And so we got a battle starting to heat up for 4th as that is Hilton, Weeks, and King Jr. all going after each other right now. And
taking a look here at David Clayman as Monica Clayman in our YouTube live chat just let us know. David Clayman, after 25 years serving in the United States Army, is going to be retiring tomorrow from protecting us here at home. And tonight, here he is from Fort Bliss, Texas, in the number 15 Scum Chevrolet Camaro. And listen, Mr. Clayman, thank you, sir, for all of your service and for keeping us safe here on the home front so guys like Tony and I can have the freedom to sit here and do what we do every night.
I don't do this often, sir, but I'm actually standing right now saluting you. Thank you so much for your service.
Monica Clayman, of course, always with us in our live chat. So, Monica, listen, if you and David want to come up from Fort Bliss and for retirement, come to Shady Maple, I'll buy. That time, I'll buy. Usually I'm kind of cheap, but I'll buy this time. Thank you very much. Getting back to the action at hand. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
I was going to say make a weekend trip out of it. You can come up here to Central New York, tour the wineries that we've got in the Finger Lakes, and then go to Tahoe's for a garbage plate. You heard what I said.
If you
know
insist.
the place that got rained out a couple weeks ago.
Yes, well aware.
I was talking to some people that were at that race. It took them 4 days to get their shoes dried.
Oh my goodness. I would have just thrown them away at that rate. Sounds like the 10 car getting ready to come down pit road as the 11 car is also in. That is a terrible camera. Jason Johnson down pit road getting his service. He's off and gone after 14.7 seconds, so we know that he just got 4 Mr. Feelgoods and a tank full of Go Fast. Clifton Cockrell also down pit road, Tony.
He is at that, and you got to wonder how much longer are these front runners going to stay out. Now, John Sterling, Scott Ramler, and Jeremy Clifton, your top 3 were last down on lap number 12. Bryce Senesac comes down pit road for his first pit stop. DJ Weeks is still out there, 52 laps in on the 75% fuel fill for Weeks, and sounds like he's coming this time. So with 2 cautions, 52 laps is about all you're going to get out of a tank of Go Fast. So you kind of got to use that marker for your strategy as the race wears on, Dave.
Yeah, every crew chief down pit road just looked at their clipboard and said, follow this guy from Chesapeake, Virginia, because it seems like he knows how to save some fuel and remain fast. So I can't wait to see how he performs over the next 52-lap stint that I'm sure he's going to try to squeeze out. Keep in mind that in those 52 laps, we also had 2 cautions, so maybe you're going to get about 40 laps overall, 40 green flag laps overall. We'll see what happens here as he is finally down pit road.
He is at that as the right sides are going on now for that autism awareness Chevy Camaro. Rights are down, left's going on. Second tank of Go Fast, and he is down and away. 15.25 for 4 tires and fuel for DJ Weeks.
Looking back up here at our race leader, John Sterling in the number 3 Ford Mustang. He's still staying out, but we can start to see the back end of this car kicking just a little as those basically 43-lap-old tires are starting to show their age a little bit, as it looks like the back end of the car just starting to get a little loose as he's basically babying it through turns 1 and 2.
He is at that, and let's let Scott Rambler in the 57 close right back in on him. And these 2 guys have stepped it out to a full 2-second lead as all right.
The 26 is pitting, and while we do that, we also want to take the time to also salute Monica Clayman, the mother of David Clayman, as she had served 11 years in the Army, and David's father also retired from the United States Army. So, my goodness, a family of service to this country, and we are grateful to have you with us. And we're grateful to be right here, being able to watch your son and, all of his friends out here on the racetrack. And Tony,
we are at that because without our armed services, the men and women that have written a blank check that includes up to and including their own life, as we've got a battle for the lead starting to heat up now as Rambler working the inside of Sterling. Without those men and women who volunteer currently in the armed services here in the United States, we could not have the freedoms that we so love. For example, sitting here on a Tuesday evening watching a video game. We can't do this in some places that don't allow the freedoms that we get in the United States, and it's all because of those men and women in uniform.
Without a doubt, absolutely, Tony, and always glad to be able to give back a little bit to those who give everything, years of their lives to protecting Americans everywhere, and just so thankful for that. And
well, Dave, you're included in that when I say service, because you may not be one of Philadelphia's finest, but you're definitely one of Philadelphia's bravest.
I do my very best, and serving your community has always been, at the heart of what I do. It was instilled by my father. Of course, obviously, David Clayman also took that same suggestion, and my father's been a fireman now for 47 years. Just hung his helmet up, and serving a community is there's no greater way to take care of your fellow person. And folks, if you are interested in serving your community, you can always reach out to your local volunteer fire department, ambulance service, or even something as simple as your neighborhood watch. Volunteer fire departments are always looking for more volunteers, as our ranks have been slowly but surely declining over the last 2.5 decades. Which is sad to see, but unfortunately people just are not interested in serving their communities in that way anymore, or having the time for it. So please consider the next time that you have a few free minutes, maybe serving your community as a volunteer firefighter.
Absolutely. Is right now those two guys at the front of this piece, they're starting to get reeled back in by Jeremy Clifton. Scott Rambler out to about half a second to the good over John Sterling. Jeremy Clifton is another second even back from Sterling, and then you've got 4 seconds back to Alonzo King as Alan Hilton throwing it to the inside on him as King brings it pit side.
King bringing it down. He is obviously going to be coming down for 4 tires and a tank of Go Fast. And one more quick little aside. Tony, you know, I'm going to be up in your former stomping grounds, just north of your former stomping grounds for the Schuylkill County Firemen's Convention on September 10th in 2 weeks. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited. I know that you had a good time when you lived up there. It was an interesting place to live as Scotty Rambler is coming down pit road. That leaves John Sterling and Jeremy Clifton out atop the pile. Alan Hilton, who last came in on lap 16. The only other lap 12 cars still out on track are Brandon Shirley and Rich Reimuller.
Yeah, there at that is everybody's trying to get those stops done and out of the way, meaning that your effective race lead right now is that 40 deuce of David Elliott, currently sitting in 9th right this second. Is about to jump up to 8th. There's Rambler in the pit. Sterling's now in. Clifton is now in. That's going to promote Alan Hilton in the 8 up to... What just happened? Mike Rominger's put it on the hauler.
Not real sure what's going on with Mike Rominger. We're going to find out momentarily here.
Yeah, he finally just decided, yeah, we're done.
Well, I
After
guess
spending a half hour on pit road.
I was going to say he spent a half hour on pit road. I'll bet you once he fired it back up that it still wasn't the way that he really needed it to be, as the 55 car of Adam Capps is now in, coming down for pit service, followed by Alan Hilton in the 8 machine. As
It's
Alan
going to
Hilton
put Wes
rolling.
Grant in the 19 up to the point.
This has to be one of the longest and most graceful green flag pit stop cycle that we've seen in quite a long time, as there was no mayhem, there was no problems. Everybody come in and get what you need and get back out there.
Well, we're still waiting on Wes Grant to bring it pit side. And he's coming now.
And Wes Grant in the number 19 Valvoline Chevrolet is the last car from the lead lap to come down pit road and get service here on lap number 65 of 167. About a century left in this piece. As you know what, Tony? These drivers have done an amazing job so far tonight. I mean, you know, listen, we went green at just about 9 o'clock. It's been 47 minutes of this green flag race. In fact, I can get that right here. And just about 47 minutes live. And these drivers have just managed to keep it top-notch. Top-notch as always.
It's what we've come to expect out of this league, because there are bonus points for incident-free races. And everybody loves to get those bonus points because they can mean the difference between making it to the playoffs and not making it to the playoffs if you're unfortunate enough to not have a win.
Absolutely. And those bonus points are always, you know, well-received. And right now, speaking of well-received, we see our boss man, Mr. Jonathan Leach, holding on to that lucky dog position, running in 19th place right now. Basically, the first car there on the lap down list. He, of course, is hoping to get himself back into shape. But Rich Reimuller, 92, the 92 car, last week's winner at Bristol in the dirt. Your last car on the lead lap, and I got to believe he's starting to get a little bit nervous as David Elliott's making steam.
Elliott is at that. Not the fastest car on track, but was one of the first ones to bring it pit side under the green flag conditions. As it looks like the 45 of Hannah having issues. But GJ Weeks is starting to chip into that lead that Elliott has built up. It was over a second and a quarter, now just under a second and a quarter, as Alonzo King and Greg Carr going door to door for the last spot in the top 10, 9th and 10th.
Jonathan Leach manages to get his lap back here. Oh, no, he doesn't. Sorry. Wrong one. Jonathan Leach now trying to hold off the 97 as he is still the first car down a lap and still trying to work his way up here to the 42, maybe trying to get that lap back the old-fashioned way. As we are wrecking on the back stretch, it sounds. Does the caution come out? James
There it
Byrne
is.
crashes. There it is. And that should put Jonathan Leach back on the lead lap. We'll take a look and see exactly what might have happened here with James Byrne.
Well, that car's been a little tail happy all night. And we're about to see.
There he is right here. We're taking a look at the 77. And just as he comes out of turn 2, as you had talked about pre-race, that back end, that tail just starts to wobble. And Weebles wobble, but they might not fall down, but he does manage to just save it without hurting anyone else on the racetrack. He has got to be one thankful driver as he gets back rolling.
Well, the thing is, with as stiff as that wind is, it's very easy for it to kill the air coming out of the diffuser at the back of these cars, which, if you'll notice, the blade on the top of the trunk lid is nowhere near as tall as we have seen in the past. That's about maybe half the size of what we saw last season in the Gen 6 cars.
And nothing compared to that car of tomorrow that had all but a surfboard back there.
Yeah, let's never speak of that monstrosity again. But what I was getting at is, with the diffuser at the back of these cars, you get a stiff breeze and it changes the airflow coming out from under the back of the car, and it's kind of like a vortex generator back there where it sucks the car down, or it pulls the car down instead of pushing it down. And all it takes is about 10 miles an hour in the wrong direction for the wind, and you're kind of screwed. As we are just waiting for, looks like everybody except our top 5 is bringing it down pit side for free servicing. As
one of the things that we were just talking about there with the spoiler here on the trunk lid. Did you ever hear the Andy Petrie story about the motorized spoiler on the old Buick?
I did not.
So if you got to listen to one of the Cheatin' is Racing episodes with the Dale Jr. download.
Okay.
Petrie tells a story. I believe I'm fairly certain it was Petrie. Tells a story about them being able to put basically. Remember the cars that used to have the motorized antennas?
Yeah.
So basically, they got a pair of these motors, and in order to make a car faster at Talladega, they took this motor and they were able to move that rear spoiler down just enough to give them just a little bit of edge on the super speedway. And so speaking of trying to get a low profile spoiler on some of these machines, they had even motorized one.
Well, I remember hearing stories back before they started policing the spoiler angle, that teams would be sitting there on pit road and there'd be like 4 or 5 guys sitting on the trunk lid trying to get that spoiler to go flatter.
Oh, absolutely. Because, once you pass tech there pre-race, you're pretty much all right to do whatever you want.
Well, back in the day you were. Now
You're
I wouldn't want to gamble with that at this point.
No, they take a much more serious and dim look at different things there in our lovely sport. Sometimes it's like, you don't want to be the one to break the rule. You want to be the one that they have to make the rule for.
Well, Dave, I think I've shown you the videos before of, there's a big race coming up this weekend up here in Oswego, New York. And if you've never seen a winged super modified race on the East Coast, Google it. YouTube it, whatever you need to do. After this video is over, go ahead and YouTube that. And I've shown you videos as the rear supports on the wing, they're not solid. They are basically the same shock absorber that you have on the back of an SUV. And as the air goes over the spoiler, it pushes it down, and then the side panels on the wings are designed in such a way that as soon as you initiate the turn going into the corner, the airflow changes and it just throws that wing back up into the air to grab as much as it possibly can to keep your cornering speeds up. So
sounds like race administration is basically trying to get everybody back in the line and get everybody to follow those rules. I mean, here's one of the things that I do want to touch on, speaking of rules, as we've talked about so many that have been made because of some drivers. Ed Morris Jr. over there and his father, Ed Morris Sr., they do such a great job at managing these cars, at managing these drivers. It's just two guys in the admin tower paying attention to the entire race. And, Tony, these guys are like a Swiss watch. They're perfectly timed. Everything is orchestrated so well. And can't thank them enough for what they do. And here in the Ricmotech Cup Series, I have to say, they've got to be two of the best admins in iRacing.
They absolutely are. They take the time out of their Tuesday evening to set up these races, organize everything, and police the action on track. They're not driving, folks. They're up in they're basically in the control tower like Dave and I are. They're not out on track with these guys. They're watching from different camera angles and trying to get as best a view of the track as they possibly can. And the thing is, though, I was fortunate enough to broadcast the Maestros Classic ARCA series, which is coming back here in a couple of weeks. And they were on track for that one, and it was still the same Swiss watch perfection.
Without a doubt, and we are back under green here at Kentucky Speedway. And Alan Hilton speaking of Maestros, Alan Hilton in the Maestros number 8 Chevrolet getting a heck of a jump over top of Brandon Shirley. And Shirley, you must be joking. Here he comes closing in. You see what I did there? Closing in on the 8 Chevrolet. And now last week's Bristol Dirt winner, Rich Reimuller, starting to become in hot pursuit of Brandon Shirley. The 55 of Adam Capps getting involved in the dance now, and as he is now sucking up to the rear of the 92. Tell you what, the 57 getting bumped by the 1 machine, manages to keep it together and moving forward, Tony.
That opens the door for Alonzo King to get to the inside of Clifton, drag race down the back straightaway. And they've got an angry pack of wolves behind them, as that's the 42 of David Elliott looking to get back up towards the front of this piece. As no quarter asked for, no quarter given for the drivers that did come down under that last caution. Everybody else stayed out. 64, 63 were the last time that Hilton, Shirley, Reimuller, and Capps were down pit road, as the 45 having to serve a pass-through penalty for using too many pit stalls under his last pitting. But here we go, the 80 on the inside of the 1, and that is Ramler right in front of him. Hey, Dave, it was a diamond pattern for once.
Gosh, and you know how I feel about that diamond pattern. My goodness. Listen, folks.
Not a fan?
Not a fan whatsoever. You know what, folks? It's worse than 3 wide. When you see 2 cars side by side, 1 in the back and 1 in the front, to make that, it almost looks like a baseball diamond. See, I had to work baseball in at least once tonight, Tony. That just spells out trouble, and it looks like they're going to try it again here eventually once they get themselves reorganized, as Alonzo King has that rear end kicking out just a little bit on the number 80 Chevrolet Camaro. Oh, my. Trouble is afoot. Now the X. This is almost like playing bingo.
Yeah, Bryce Senesac in the 09 for prime time coming up there as well. Everybody playing nicely so far, as we are quickly approaching the halfway mark, only about a handful of laps away from that point. And Dave, while we are under some green flag conditions, so we don't miss anything should pit stops start to happen, what do you say we step away and pay a couple of bills?
Much agreed, Tony. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Ricmotech Cup Series, brought to you in part by the extremescoring.info website. Make sure that you go over and check out ricmotech.com and extremescoring.info.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go. Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go. Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you. Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go. Ricmotech.com.
Back here at Kentucky Speedway, Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso in the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth, bringing you all of the exciting action here in the Ricmotech and ExtremeScoring.info Cup Series. Alan Hilton driving the number 8 Maestro's Chevrolet Camaro is your race leader right now, last coming in at lap number 64. And he is being followed by an angry pack of Hornets, Tony, as these guys crossing the start-finish line for lap number 89 of 167, just past the halfway mark here at Kentucky. And so far, so good tonight, as we've only had a couple of cautions here. And, basically 3 cautions. Nobody was really given any serious penalties except for the third caution, where the 77 car of James Byrne had self-spun and received an EOL for that. So otherwise, we've had some net code and a racing incident with no penalty. So pretty good racing at this point.
It has been, and that's what we've come to expect out of the Ricmotech Cup Series here on Tuesday nights on Sim Racing Media. But the one thing I'm noticing is nobody's really getting a big getaways. We got a battle for the lead as DJ Weeks just sends it going into 3 on Alan Hilton. looks like Hilton may have gone a little too hard, a little too soon. As Weeks, the last handful of laps, has been a little bit quicker than Hilton has. And now Hilton going to fall back into the clutches of Clifton Cockrell as well. Bryce Senesac making his way back up towards the front in fourth.
And folks, you can see just how close these drivers are running here in the battles box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen over top of the iRacing.com watermark, as Dennis Weeks now setting sail over top of Alan Hilton in with, at this point, nearly a half-second gap. The battle for second is where it's at right now, as we can pull that up, or not. I guess it doesn't want to right now. Here we go.
Okay.
Well, there we go. There we go, in the lower right-hand corner. And Dennis Weeks now opening up a 1.2-second lead over Clifton Cockrell in the number 10 Chevrolet Camaro, as it is just a sea of Chevy. 6 of them, as a matter of fact, before we even see the first blue oval. And tonight, just 4 Toyota ovals. What is that technically referred to? Toyota T?
I have no idea.
I always thought it looks like a cowboy. Folks, I'm going to step aside here and take a look and find out exactly what we can call that logo.
Well, I mean, if we were talking about sports entertainment, it could be there was a wrestler that wrestled under many different names. One of said names was Jimmy Wang Yang.
And finally, a question that I've had for a very long time being answered here. Maybe you've asked yourself the same question, folks. What is the Toyota logo? Now, the overlapping of the 2 perpendicular ovals inside the outer oval symbolize the letter T for Toyota, as well as a steering wheel representing the vehicle itself. The outer oval symbolizes the world that embraces Toyota. Each oval is contoured with different stroke thickness, similar to the brush art in Japanese culture. So, obviously, a little bit of subliminal culture messaging here in the Toyota Camry logo. And, Tony, I'm going to ask you, here's tonight's random fact question. In fact, we're going to throw this up here in the YouTube live chat. What was the original purpose of the company of Toyota? What did they make before cars?
I know, yeah. Yeah, we're going to put that one out to the fans. I know the answer, and I don't want to spoil it.
Folks, make sure that you're there in the YouTube.com live chat. And if you are watching us on YouTube.com, welcome into the Sim Racing Media broadcast. Dave Regal alongside Tony Trapasso. And make sure that you subscribe. Turn on those bell notifications so that you can be notified every time that we go live. And, you know, if you like hanging out with Tony and I tonight, as long as all things are equal, tomorrow night would be you and I there in the Thunderclap series. Now, where is Thunderclap tomorrow night, or where is Thunderclap supposed to be tomorrow night?
In the Xfinity car at iRacing Super Speedway for race number 2 of round number 2 of their playoffs.
Right now, just trying to work out some logistics for the Thunderclap Racing Series. Hopefully, we can get that off the ground for them, as just a great group of guys over there. And, you know, of course, Tony and I also get to work together with some kind of special stuff, as Sunday you and I got to do the ISNF Xfinity Series at Daytona. Seems like this is just Super Speedway week, and of course we've also covered a smattering of other events here on Sim Racing Media. You can also tune into the Money Stop podcast featuring Tony and Dave. That would be the 2 of us, and just in case we didn't have enough to do with our time. Then, of course, also you can check out exactly what was going on Saturday night. You were checking out drag racing, Tony?
What we're doing is we're going to try to do this every week. We're going to try to do something different on Saturday evenings. This past week, it was a live review with I was sharing my screen live with about 7 in the peanut gallery, and we reviewed the new NHRA game. As much of a drag racing fan as I am, I kind of regret making that purchase.
What would make you think that you regret the purchase? Is it because it's not immersive like iRacing is, or was there something more to it?
I remember the early 2000s when the first crop of drag racing games came out, and I use the term game loosely, where they were more simulator based. What they just released, to me, it only feels like it's maybe a quarter done of what it should have been. So many features are missing, and they missed the mark. They really missed the mark on that one.
I mean, it looked like an interesting user interface and maybe simple as far as the menus and things, but drag racing, from what I gathered after watching you guys, unfortunately I was busy Saturday night, couldn't be with you, but drag racing is a lot more technical than most people see it to be.
It is. You think, oh, you're just going in a straight line. Good luck. I mean, yeah, it might seem that way in your passenger car, but that's the beauty of drag racing, is you and I could take our passenger cars, and as long as there's nothing leaking out of the rust bucket, you can enter competition with the car that you drive to work every day, and they'll find a class to put you in. It's when you start to get into the higher horsepower ranks of the 2,000 and 3,000 horsepower version, and I mean, currently they're saying that the top fuels are putting out about 12,000 horsepower, which, if you do the math on that, Dave, that's 2 Daytona 500 fields in one car for
That's
horsepower.
Impressive. I mean, and listen, watching, whoa, the one of Jeremy Clifton getting loose, that opens the door for Alan Hilton and Alex Carr to get around him. So now it goes Hilton, Carr, Clifton, as Hilton had been able to run some laps here tonight. And so far, now it looks like DJ Weeks still your race leader with a 1.7 second lead over Bryce Senesac. David Elliott running in third. He's still 3/4 of a second over Clifton Cockrell. Things have definitely strung themselves out here, as right now the closest battle on the track is for sixth position here, with Jeremy Clifton chasing him down. Tony, we have no guesses, and the only guess that there was a I have no idea guess in the YouTube.com studio. Folks, number one, Toyota, the word Toyota was originally spelled with a D, so it was Tyoyoda, Toyota, as in the tiny green guy from Star Wars. Then, to boot, they made fabric looms.
Yes,
they made the
automatic looms. Yep.
And basically, the original Mr. Toyota, he was into the looms. He was trying to build, machines to make fabric and cloth and whatnot and so on. His son had seen the advent of the automobile and said, hey, if I can build these, I can build this. And obviously the rest is history, as, they didn't
start making cars till 1933.
Right. And, basically the rest becomes history, as, the Toyota itself, the brand, so popular, and obviously popular enough to get themselves involved in NASCAR at the highest level here in the Cup Series. Brad Stalter asking for an Adam Capps update. Let's take a look here at Adam Capps, currently running in 17th position. We'll take a look. Adam Capps.
Doesn't appear to be any damage on that car, but
looks pretty good to me.
Relatively clean, which is always good to see, especially with it'll be 60 laps to go next time across the line. And
the 55 Elite Toyota Camry looking pretty good so far. So Brad, hope that answered your question, as he's currently running in 17th, down 2 spots from where he had begun.
As we've got a battle starting to heat up again for 5th, 6th, and 7th, as or 6th, 7th, and 8th, I should say, is that's Hilton, Rambler, Wasserman, and Clifton all going after each other. And here comes the 85 of Shirley and Rich Meyermuller. I can talk tonight, I promise, folks, I can.
Look, everybody gets one do-over. The 85 working the low side of the 92. We're going to take a look here from the spotter stand. There it is.
Ramblers into the wall.
Ramblers in the wall. Rambler is on pit road on the express. Whoa! I don't think he meant to do that, Tony.
No.
Manages to stay green as he just went in there forward, and we'll take a look back here exactly at what might have happened with Scotty Rambler.
And he's
And
working
we're
the
gonna see
inside of Hilton, and then the back end just washed out. He tried to save it, and good night as he ripped the right front suspension off the car.
And he comes all the way through the infield, basically sees his pit box, figures, let me quick get in here. I have to believe that may have been some kind of a hardware failure as he almost hit the opening to go back to the actual garage.
I think it was just the fact that he couldn't steer after he tagged the wall and ripped the suspension off the piece.
Now, Dennis Weeks, still your race leader here in the number 97 with now a 1.2 second lead over your points leader, Bryce Senesac. Senesac getting hungry, maybe trying to be our first repeat winner of the year in the 09 Primetime Chevrolet. David Elliott in the number 42 Primetime Chevrolet. Running in third position, Alex Carr in the 26 TBR Ford Mustang. Now being chased and passed by Brian Wasserman in the number 17 Monster Energy Chevrolet Camaro. As these two side by side have the hammer and tongs out pretty early. But we're on lap 112 of 167, working our way through this race and everything going well at this point. Jeremy Clifton in the number 1 machine, he is working all by his lonesome. Running in 6th, 7th is Alan Hilton. Clifton Cockrell running in 8th. Alonzo King Jr. in the number 80 car running in 9th. I'm sorry, now that's John Sterling running in 9th. And Rich Reimuller, last week's Bristol Dirt winner in the Spaceballs, the Camaro Chevrolet, rounding out the top 10.
Well, that slugfest that's been going on for the last handful of laps for the last couple of spots in the top 10 between Reimuller, Sterling, and Carr. I mean, these guys are just going after it right now. Alonzo King has 8th as they finally start to get that one sorted out ever so slightly. And hey, check that one out. The Boss Man up into 11th. And we're 3 wide. There. 7th, 8th, and 9th were going 3 wide there as there was a car going down pit road, so we were temporarily 4 wide here at Kentucky, which it just sends a chill up my spine. I cringe thinking about it.
Greg Carr. Oh, Brad Slaughter says, no, not Rambler. Cap is in 17th position. Yes, saw that. But the 25 stepping out of line as he is now ahead of Jonathan Leach. Jonathan, of course, our boss man here at Sim Racing Media, one of the most dedicated people in iRacing as far as getting the job done, especially here at Sim Racing Media, driving the number 86 Chevrolet. Of course, we say 86. You're going to have to take our word for it, as if I'm LeVar Burton on Reading Rainbow. It doesn't say it, but I swear it's there.
Unfortunately, the file that he's using for that car got corrupted. Don't worry, folks. He's going to have a new paint scheme next week, I promise.
Yes, seems like Michelangelo and the Sistine Chapel thing is going to happen with you again here, Tony.
Yep.
And right now, we're looking pretty close to money stop time for many of these drivers. Coming in last on lap number 71, Brandon Shirley, Clifton Cockrell, all the way down through 20th position with David Clayman coming down between lap 111 and 101. So we're going to see everybody from Jason Johnson up through Dennis Weeks getting ready to come down pit road. And the question becomes, Tony, as always, who's going to blink?
Well, from what we saw during that first green flag run, and when we saw guys come down pit road at that time, we're not quite to the point of you can make it from here yet. You can almost make it from here. If we stay green, if you save fuel early, you might be able to pull it off. But these guys are going to want to stay out, burn maybe 75% of the tank out being as they've got a 75% fuel fill here tonight, you know, they're going to want to use that to their advantage as best they can. But I really wouldn't come down till at least 25, lap 25, 125. I mean,
I absolutely agree, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see most of these drivers work it out that way. Right now, taking a look at Jeremy Clifton leading Alonzo King Jr. in the 80 machine. Looks like Jonathan Leach decided to come in early for his pit stop. Let's see if this pans out here for the 86 Chevrolet, driven by Jonathan Leach. Right now, your race leader, Dennis Weeks, his lead is starting to get cut ever so gingerly here by Bryce Senesac. As you know, when we start talking about cutting, Senesac is one of those surgical kind of drivers. I mean, you know, he is just going to sit here, hit his marks every time, and again, like a shark in water, wait for someone to drop some blood.
well, there's a reason why Senesac is one of the top drivers for Primetime Motorsports. You know, they call him the Iceman for a reason. Bryce the Iceman Senesac, he'll wear you down. Flat out will wear you down, and you know, you see that black Chevy Camaro in your rearview mirror. It as David Weeks going to peel on off. Or Daniel Weeks, sorry. DJ Weeks coming in, Alex Carr, Jeremy Clifton, Alonzo King, Greg Carr, Wes Gant, and David Elliott all coming pit side. As the 97 doing what he can to try to stay on the lead lap here. And oh, how the mighty have fallen, Dave.
Absolutely. Dennis Weeks in for pit service. He is going to get 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel. Bryce Senesac coming down pit road now as well. That'll leave Brian Wasserman and John Sterling out on track as Brian Wasserman now comes in and Sterling comes in. So things shuffling. If you had the same screen that Tony and I are working off of right now with our iRacing timing and scoring, you'd watch this shuffle like you're at Atlantic City in a casino and they have that automatic card shuffler.
Pretty much, yeah. Now you know, when we were at Daytona this past weekend, we saw the overcut being more effective than the undercut. I don't think that's going to be the case here tonight at Kentucky. As everybody's down and away, Senesac still in pit road, Cockrell up to speed as the 10 of Cockrell takes over the lead. He's got the 8 of Hilton and the 85 of Shirley up there with him, as well as the 92 of Reimuller. So still a lot of racing left here tonight, Dave.
I was going to say, so with that, Clifton Cockrell, your new race leader, and keep in mind that these top 5 drivers, Cockrell, Hilton, Reimuller, Shirley, and Capps, all came down between lap 107 and 112. So there's no way that they're going to get to the end on fuel. Maybe coming in early was just enough that those 5 drivers can stay out when it's time for the money stop for, you know, everybody else. Or they come down and get fuel only, and all of a sudden they're back on the same pit cycle as everyone else. So things obviously strategy-wise changing ever so slightly. Adam Capps now in the 55. We were just talking about him as requested by our youtube.com live chat. So folks, we are paying attention at all times to that live chat. Make sure that you let us know who you're pulling for if you're watching us. But Adam Capps running in 5th right now, up 10 positions from where he had started. But the biggest mover of the night, regardless of where he is right now, is Bryce Senesac.
He is at that, and you know, he didn't get the qualifying attempt he was hoping for. Currently sitting in 8th, plus 14. The next biggest mover is going to go to Ryan Kling in the 5, currently sitting in 12th, plus 12. And then you got David Elliott in 6th, who's currently plus 10, as Senesac picks off Capps.
Senesac manages to pick off Capps and now secures P7 away from him as we are on lap number 125 of 167 here at Kentucky Speedway. Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso in the broadcast booth. Tony doing your play-by-play. I'm on the 1s and 2s and everything in between in the production truck. And I got to say, folks, if you're just tuning in, you have tuned in at the right time, because here with just over 40 laps to go, we're going to see some of the hottest racing all week here on the Ricmotech Cup Series, brought to you in part by ExtremeScoring.info.
top three kind of getting a little, or top four kind of getting a pocket all to themselves right now, as the peloton is starting to reel them in, being led by DJ Weeks, currently in fifth. He's got David Elliott, Bryce Senesac, and Adam Capps in tow, and Capps is having problems.
Taking a look here at the 55, he has slowed down. I'm not going to say he's off pace, but his last lap was a 32.64, while everybody else was about a second faster than him. The next slowest car besides Adam Capps is actually Ryan Kling in the 5-car, Tony.
And what do those two have in common? They were last down pit road on lap 107. They know they've got to come in for at least one more pit stop. So it's about to get interesting, as you know, the pace that the front runners are running is Clifton Cockrell just lost second place to last week's winner Rich Reimuller, as Alan Hilton now shows the way in that Maestro's Classic number 8. And they're starting to pull a gap on Brandon Shirley's number 85, as Shirley is starting to really fall off the pace. Last time by, your fastest car on track was the 09 of Senesac with a 31.02.
You know, when you talk about the 85, I couldn't even believe, you know, surely I thought you were joking that he was there in 4th position, but I thought for sure he was in 3rd.
He is in 4th, and
Shirley
stop calling me Shirley.
Ah, boy. Look at you coming along for the ride.
One of the greatest minds of comedy of all time.
Do you like gladiator movies?
David.
Anthony? Don't make me.
I'll pee in your beer.
Listen, I just thought maybe you would like to go see a gladiator movie.
Hard no. As we got some.
If you're not aware of the references that we make, listen, check out the movie Airplane. Leslie Nielsen is a master in his performance in that particular film, and you know,
coincidentally, that was his first comedic role.
Yeah, oddly, and he played it so well and so dry, and you know, quite frankly, you could laugh hard enough that you may have to get sent to a hospital.
Well, the best part was Mrs. Cleaver talking jive. Huh?
A hospital? What is it? It's a place with sick people.
It's a building with sick people. But that's not important right now. Oh, we're going to get fired.
Listen, if you're
as that is a gaggle for second. Good grief.
My goodness.
Throw a blanket over 1st through 6th.
Do you see this? Are we? Oh, my.
And unfortunately, Ryan Mueller caught the apron coming out of 3. Just hemorrhaged a couple of spots. He's going to have to get up on that horse again, as Clifton Cockrell trying to reel him in, starting to lose a little bit of ground, as that battle in front of Ryan Mueller is just a slugfest.
And Jason Johnson trying to hold off the 8-car of Alan Hilton, as Johnson, now your lucky dog, that first car 1 lap down in the 11 machine, basically in a hornet's nest right now. But as he's back there duking it out, trying to hold his position and that lucky dog spot, it just seems like he's probably not in the best of company, as it looks like he's holding up Senesac, Hilton, and Elliott, as Elliott now just basically 3/4 of a second up to our leader, DJ Weeks.
Yeah, Weeks is loving what he's seeing in his rearview mirror. Being as the 11 is not really giving up track position right now. As Senesac looks to the inside of Elliott coming through the tri-oval. Senesac up into 2nd, Elliott back to 3rd, and Hilton is starting to fall back into the clutches of Reimuller again in the 8-car. As the battles up in front are getting hot and heavy, and DJ Weeks is looking in his rearview mirror going, go ahead, guys, just battle it out. I'm going to take the win here. As now a full second to the good is the 97 Autism Awareness Chevy Camaro. Elliott and Senesac still within striking distance of each other in the 11. You got to wonder how much more patience is Bryce Senesac going to show, as Jason Johnson in the 11 is not giving him an inch whatsoever. Throws the block, and Johnson crosses him over. Johnson's actually going to get the run coming into 1, and that sounded healthy. Senesac admonishing the 11 there. And this just in from Scotty Rambler's team. They've decided to call it a night and put that car on the hauler after seeing how much damage was actually done to that by smacking the outside wall and then tagging the pit wall.
And Tony, what do you say right now? We decide to turn it up and let these fans see some of the great driving that we have here.
Crank it up, SA. fourth, hot and heavy right now, as that is the 92 of last week's winner, Rich Ricmotech, as he's working the inside of Jeremy Clifton. Ricmotech has to chase it up the track. Alonzo King right there within striking distance of those two. Meanwhile, up the front of this piece, DJ Weeks and Bryce Senesac have carved out a 3.5-second gap up at the front, running 1-2 right now. And the question is, can they make it from here, as we are inside 20 to go right now? Weeks, Senesac, Elliott, Clifton, Ricmotech, King, Hilton, Carr, Sterling, Wasserman, your top 10 as we currently sit. This is one of your closest battles. This actually is your closest battle on track right now, is this battle for the lead. As Senesac looks to the inside of Weeks, down the back straightaway, making a move, drag race, going into turn number 3.
And Senesac hauls it into turn 3, and he gets himself just a little edge, but DJ Weeks able to hold it off one more time, as that high line gives him just enough of a run. They're going to cross the start-finish line, door handle to door handle. Noses are going to be the difference in that split. And once again, as they dive into turn 1, looks like Senesac trying to get clear of Weeks, and finally he does, as they shoot down the backstretch like a couple of bats right on out of hell, as if Meatloaf was there playing the song on a backstretch.
They are at that, and Dave, we're looking to there it is, Carr and Hilton for 7th, as now Carr becomes your highest running Ford with a sea of Chevys in front of him, about 1.25 seconds behind last week's winner, Rich Ricmotech, but Alan Hilton wanting to put him back in 9th, and unfortunately for Hilton, I think he went too hard too soon since the last time he was down pit road, and actually looks like Hilton might be going into fuel conservation mode.
Well, that's probably just about accurate. I mean, here we are with now 15 to go, and, you don't want to be the first one to blink and get yourself all out of shape. At the same time, you're kind of holding out that maybe things get hairy here toward the end. Somebody makes a mistake and we wind up under caution, which, of course, would be great for everybody waiting to see what happens. Right now, looking at Alan Hilton in the number 8 Maestro Chevrolet, he's working the high side over top of the 85 machine drip. Where did I just see that? It just disappeared off my screen. That's a problem.
First car, one or more laps down.
Yeah, there we go. That would be your lucky dog slot, Brandon Shirley, and now they've worked around him. Now Alex Carr being chased down by Alan Hilton. Taking a look now at the 97 of DJ Weeks. He is still trying to get his spot back from Bryce Senesac, who just made it almost look too easy to take the lead away from Dennis Weeks.
And while they're doing that, Ryan Kling was down on lap 130, so about 10 lap newer tires for the 5 of Kling, as he's working around the leaders right now, trying to get his lap back one of his laps back anyways, the hard way.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's starting to look like Ryan Kling might have enough to stay out there, get his laps back as we go through these, what at this point is setting up to be green flag money stop pit stops. And speaking of the money stop, Tony, we've got to really sit down and get another episode cut here, because we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of new things going on, as well as catching up with our good friend Spur Loco. Have you managed to talk to him lately?
I unfortunately have not been able to time my ventures into our Discord server when he has been there, so I have not had a chance to speak with him about how his progression is going. And I told him if he needs any help with car paints, let me know, and I'll get him out there for him. As Alonzo King and Jeremy Clifton going after each other right now, as we are 11 to go. Bryce Senesac continues to show the way. A lot of separation for your podium, as Senesac, Weeks, and Elliott, about 3 seconds to the good from Elliott, back to this battle for 4th between Clifton and King.
No, and race radio is starting to heat up. Folks, if you have your scanner, make sure that you turn that to the Ricmotech ExtremeScoring.info Cup Series as things starting to get heated up, and glad to have everybody with us on the YouTube.com live feed. 82 of you so far checked in with us tonight, and it looks like many of you had stuck with us for quite a while. Monica Clayman, of course, always with us from the green flag to the checkered flag here, and glad for everybody who's been watching along with us. Tony Trapasso and Dave Regal here in the broadcast booth. Bryce Senesac, your race leader, but DJ Weeks not willing to give it up early as they are both on equal sets of tires here, separated by just a lap. So for all intents and purposes, equal tires, as it looks like they're about to put Jonathan Leach, the boss man, down a lap as we come out of turn 2.
And Dave, I'd like to point out, this is one of 5 races we have been able to broadcast tonight here on Sim Racing Media, as we had the Gunners for SR kicking things off at about 7:30. Then the AARL Truckers Feed America Series, they are currently live, as is we've just fired off the Western States Racing League as they go to Road America. And I mean, that was really our first experience, was the road race last season for the WSRL.
Actually, I will be honest with you. Our first race last season together, in fact, it was the first race that you and I had ever worked together, was the Lady in Black.
That's what it was. You're right.
I will never forget talking about the duck pond with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that moment I knew that we were going to be partners for quite a while.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But right now, that battle for the lead is Senesac leads over DJ Weeks. As, what does it say on the back of that car? Weeks. No.
Frank Marchese, if you're watching us right now, of course, he's probably got many more important things to do. Look away, as we're going to take a look here. No bumping.
I see this now.
I like that. That's creative. I mean, it serves 2 purposes. It's kind of like a go-kart, no bumping, and also because of some of the texture issues that many folks that are victim to autism, especially with the touching and the textures and things.
You're absolutely correct.
I totally get it.
I can dig that. I can absolutely dig that. But yeah, a lot of good causes being raced for in the iRacing servers. I've seen pulmonary hypertension awareness on cars. I've seen breast cancer awareness, domestic violence awareness. All forms of different debilitating diseases out there. And that's something about the iRacing community that I really, it kind of warms the cockles of your heart, because we're playing a video game, but we're trying to bring awareness at the same time through the broadcast to these different causes that mean so much to the drivers behind the wheel.
Absolutely. We've seen Tunnels to Towers. Then there was, oh my goodness, and I just forgot it, in the Western States Racing League. Crackers. It was a veterans organization.
There are multiple veteran organizations that are represented in that league because there are multiple veterans in that league. Mission 22 is one of them. There's also there's a home helping disabled veterans get new homes, and I forget. I think it's Project Warrior, but Wounded Warrior. That's what it is. But yeah, absolutely. As we are currently 2 to go, popsicle sticks in the air. Senesac, about 5 car lengths gap difference between he and DJ Weeks, and then you're 7 full seconds back to David Elliott, who's currently holding on to third, as Senesac going to bring it out of turn number 4. White flag in the air, across the stripe he comes. We are racing back to checkers.
And as the white flag waves, Bryce Senesac has a 0.65 second lead now over DJ Weeks. DJ Weeks basically sitting here in the catbird seat. Alonzo King Jr., the closest we have is there's just a quarter second separating himself and David Elliott. But right now, closest battle on the racetrack is for fifth here for that top 5 slot as Brian, that isn't even fifth. There it is. For sixth, for Brian Wasserman chasing down.
Across the line.
Down, and just across the line is Bryce Senesac, your race winner here in the Ricmotech Cup Series, brought to you in part by ExtremeScoring.info. Bryce Senesac, Dennis Weeks, and Alonzo King Jr., your podium winners tonight here on Sim Racing Media on YouTube.com.
And I got him if you want him. Yeah. And as he starts to burn him down on the front stretch, joining us now, the driver of the Primetime 09, Bryce Senesac. Congratulations on winning here at Kentucky.
Thank you.
Talk us through the night. Just how difficult was it at times to pass?
I mean, it was just more like really just sketchy than it was difficult. You know, I screwed up qualifying. I should have ran like a 30.9, had like a top 10 starting spot. But I got the wall there off of 2, and it didn't count my lap, so I had to start almost last and almost got myself wrecked trying to make my way through. But
That is
strategy fell through, and I got track position, and it kind of just played out from there.
that is definitely no bueno. But you know, you were able to get that car back under you. Keep it pointed in the right direction. But, Bryce, I might point out that you are the first repeat winner this season here in the Ricmotech Cup Series. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. Man. It feels really good to kind of have a bit of an edge, get a second win, but especially get it done at a track like this. You know, people say, like, Daytona is kind of just luck and all that stuff, but, I mean, I think Daytona things played out well there, and it had a teammate to help me, and then here there's just pretty much all on me, and strategy just worked really well, and I took a good care of the tires.
Absolutely, Bryce. And we go from the home of bourbon this week at Kentucky into a track that's literally 45 minutes from Dave's house, and Pocono International next week. What are your thoughts going into round number 8 at the Tricky Triangle?
I have no idea. Hopefully it's pretty decent. I mean, I ran there not too long ago, but I mean the car had a different feel to it. It was like open setup stuff, so I don't know how with these fixed setups that we've been running, how these will be. So I guess get some laps in. I think we got a week break because of Labor Day, so
Right.
yeah.
So it'll be actually the 13th.
Yeah.
It's the next time you guys will be back with us.
So I mean, plenty of time to try and get some laps in. I'm very excited though. This is like my first time in 3 years I get a Labor Day off, so that's pretty stoked.
All right.
But yeah,
Bryce, who do you need to thank?
See how it feels.
Who do you need to thank before we turn you loose to go celebrate your second victory on this season?
Yeah, it's you guys for the broadcast. Add Morris, all he does. Give DJ props. He rode on a really good race there at the end. Teammate David, he had a good run going to. I'm not sure where he ended up. I think top 5, but yeah. And fortunately, other teammate Mike Romeo got caught up in someone's mess, and then give a shout out to the watch party group and another Discord. I don't know if they're watching, but yeah, just shout them out. They're very cool bunch of people.
Bryce Senesac, congratulations on the victory this week. We'll see you next week, or in 2 weeks at Pocono.
Thank you.
And Dave, I believe you've got DJ Weeks with you now.
DJ Weeks, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, great run tonight. You wound up starting exactly where you finished here. Sir, 31 years old out of Chesapeake, Virginia. How do you keep that 97 Chevrolet cranked the way that you do, staying as competitive as you are all race long?
I mean, saving the tires, and it got loose off the corner. I don't know if you guys saw us dancing coming off the corners, but It was treacherous. I did tag the wall a little bit, so I got myself a nice little stripe. I gotta fix that, man. I think I've hit the wall every race somehow. But just Bryce just did a better job of keeping that right rear under him, and lap traffic there kind of annoyed me, got me out of my rhythm, and then he just drove away from me at that. But I tried, man.
Trust me, I totally understand. We watched you from up here in the broadcast booth, and I mean, you were giving it 110%. And, here you are finishing second on the podium, right now running fifth in our point standings. You had a chance tonight to get that first win of the season. Instead, Bryce Senesac notches his second win of the season. What are you thinking going into Pocono when we come back in 2 weeks?
I think I ran official there a few weeks ago when they were there. That's a tough track with this car. The draft is just so strong. I think it's going to run like a super speedway. People are just going to be over top of each other. And just probably got to survive it.
It definitely will live up to its nickname, the Tricky Triangle. So, listen, Dennis, before we cut you loose, is there anybody that you need to thank for this performance tonight?
Yeah, always. Thanks to you guys for calling this race. Sim Racer Media for putting this thing on. Thanks for Extreme for allowing me to come back and race. Ricmotech sponsors the series. Great brand. Thanks to both Ed Morris and Ed Morris Sr. for adminning this thing. Hopefully we don't give them too many headaches, but sometimes we do. Thanks to my buddy Johnny Eckert for helping me with strategy and just keeping me calm. And even when I was about to bend it every couple times, he just told me to relax. So couldn't do it without him and everybody else watching and the rest of this league.
All right, brother. Well, listen, we will see you in 2 weeks on September 13th at Pocono Raceway. Thank you, sir, and go ahead and celebrate that P2 finish.
Thanks, guys.
And, Tony, I believe that you should have Alonzo King there, driver of the number 80 machine.
Alonzo King able to save just enough tire in that car to make it happen on the last lap, picking off the one to come home on the bottom step of the podium. All things considered, you can't be too disappointed being up 11 spots from where you started tonight.
No, not at all. It was a good run. Just had to learn to save tires after that first run. And got in that second run, and I just got the tires too hot and fell back to about 15th. Then took that pit stop about lap 119 and just started saving fuel from there on and made it all the way.
Well, you were able to hang on there, but talk us through just how punishing this track can be, not just on the right front, but it looks like the right rears were being completely used up tonight.
It was more punishable on the right rear. The track acts more like a dirt track. You're leaning on the right rear more to get the car to turn in 3 and 4. And if you're not careful enough and you're too high in 3 and 4 to start of the run, you're just going to completely eat the right side tires apart. So throttle control was key and knowing when to let off. And this track's real tricky because the transition from 3 to 4, most tracks, when you get in that transition is when you let off. You have to let off on the straightaway here or you're just going to destroy your tires.
Solid fact, but in 2 weeks when the series returns after the Labor Day break, you're not going to be lifting much as we go into the Tricky Triangle in the Pocono Mountains up in Pennsylvania. What are your thoughts going into round number 9 in 2 weeks? Round number 8 in 2 weeks.
Triangle, it's still a hard place to pass, even with these cars. So you've got to catch that draft on the front straightaway and know when to throw it into one. And that's where you're going to get most of your runs. That's where you're going to get most of your passes. And getting that speed coming off of turn 3 to get on that front straightaway to catch that draft right. So that's a very technical track. It doesn't look like it, but man, them flat turns in 3, that'll get you every time.
It absolutely will. Alonzo, who do you need to thank before we turn you loose?
I just want to thank teammates on Dark Tempest. Love to thank Ed putting the series on. It's a great series, fun to run in. Finally got a complete race put together. I want to thank everybody for that one. And I want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. I love it. I'm in there most times talking right before the race. So good broadcast, guys.
Well, sir, before we turn you loose, let me say thank you for your service, as I am seeing that you are a United States Navy veteran. Thank you so much for your service, sir, and best of luck to you in 2 weeks at the Tricky Triangle.
And can I give a shout out to Monica Kleeman? She's
Yes,
always
sir.
our number one supporter in there. So,
She absolutely is.
all right. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for everything you guys do.
All right. Alonzo King, we'll see you in 2 weeks at Pocono.
Yes, sir.
Well, Dave, we've got another one in the books, my friend.
We absolutely do. Things definitely going to be shaping up differently when we come back in 2 weeks and take a look at the point standings. But before we get out of here, what do you say we go through that final order one more time here, as we do have the results of this race in our hands?
Sounds like a game plan.
Bryce Senesac brings home the trophy in victory lane, captures that checkered flag in the 09 Chevrolet Camaro. Dennis Weeks finishes in second, exactly where he had started this race, in P2. And rounding out your podium is Alonzo King Jr. in the number 80 Chevrolet Camaro. Jeremy Clifton and David Elliott round out the top five, followed by Brian Wasserman, Alex Carr, John Sterling, Greg Carr, and Wes Gant round out your top 10, Tony.
Running out your lead lap cars is going to be the 85 of Brandon Shirley. Jonathan Leach coming home in 12th. Good recovery drive for him, being scored as the first car one or more laps down. Richard Reimuller, last week's winner, not the night he was hoping for, coming home in 13th. 14th goes to Clifton Cockrell. Adam Capps rounding out your top 15. Alan Hilton, Ryan Kling, Jason Johnson, David Clayman, Mark Hanna rounding out your top 20. Scotty Rambler putting it on the hauler early. James Byrne putting it on the hauler early. Mike Rominger, GT Hawkins all putting it on the hauler early. And Garrett Heath electing to not take the green tonight.
Well, Tony, now that's officially it. We can definitely put this one in the books, as everything has been recorded by, of course, our extremescoring.info scoring software. Folks, once again, make sure that you head on over to ricmotech.com. Check out the offers that they have, because without the fine people at Ricmotech or extremescoring.info, we wouldn't be sitting here with you tonight. So, Tony, it's time for you to point us on the way home.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as it's going to be 2 weeks and there's going to be a holiday weekend in there, please practice safe activities for the holiday. We will see you in 2 weeks. On behalf of Mr. Dave Regal over in the production truck on the ones and twos, this is Tony Trapasso reminding you, ladies and gentlemen, that this week, as you walk, the next 2 weeks, as you walk down the road of life, don't play in traffic and don't drink and drive. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Allow Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.